Our story begins with our protagonist catching his breath, exhausted and in pain. Thinking that he doesn't want to die, he tries his best to quickly escape, but his body is in so much pain, making him furiously wonder why it is only him going through this. He then trips on his own feet and slams onto the floor, which makes him let go of his sword. Shakily, he tries to stand up while coughing and calling for someone to help him, but his body falls. Takemichi Yoshido, a low-tier challenger, lies on the floor hopelessly, crying and begging for someone to help him. Suddenly, thud, someone steps onto the ground, making the whole place shake. It then walks closer to him, and it is the elite demon. Shakily, he stands up to face the elite demon, wondering how miserable he is to be tormented and looked down upon. He then furiously asks if it is fun and if they are satisfied now. Raising his sword, he shouts that he will never give up, even if everyone laughs at him or that damned world abandons him. He dashes toward the elite demon while shouting that he has no choice but to move forward. But the elite demon just scratches him with its sharp claws even before he can attack. He is in tears and feels hurt, lying on the ground while the elite demon gathers power in its palm. He tries to crawl away from the elite demon aiming at him. The elite demon stares at him and attacks with its power, but it misses by an inch. When he notices the impact affected the floor, he knows that it is bad. Suddenly, the ground shatters, and he raises his hand to the elite demon, swearing that he will definitely become a strong challenger. Then he falls, crying and screaming at the top of his lungs. The system informs him that he has died. Magic Tower, an enigmatic structure beyond human understanding. Ending was the commonly known term for tower-like dungeons that suddenly appeared all over the world. The interior is like a world straight out of a game, with swords, magic, skills, and monsters. The magic stones and treasures sleeping in the magic tower are traded at high prices, and those who seek treasures are called challengers. However, challenging the magic tower comes with a risk to life. Even though it is like a game, death in the magic tower means death in reality. Yaido, who had died, slowly opens his eyes and realizes that he has died again. He slaps his face, knowing that this isn't how things should go. The system shows him that his death has been confirmed and his infinite revival skill has been activated, but the remaining time is 10 seconds. Infinite revival means that no matter how many times he dies in the magic tower, it is a skill that can bring him back to life. But he is pissed, realizing that he has been fooled. After he graduated from high school, he lived a life filled with part-time jobs. However, when the magic tower appeared, he believed his life could change if he became a challenger. Every day became a struggle to seize magic stones and treasures to win the competition. He tried to acquire a rare skill that no one else had. The one selling infinite revival was the merchant at the entrance of the magic tower. He withdrew all his savings and even went into debt to purchase it, obtaining a body that doesn't die. However, as a death penalty, it applies a permanent debuff of -500 DF. With infinite revival, each time he comes back to life, his abilities are reduced. He has died 4 times so far. A first death, -50 DF, his original stat value was only 53, bringing him to the brink of death with a single blow earlier. A second death, -70 attack. Third death, -250 HP. Fourth death, -60 agility. The negative effect is random each time. He laughs, knowing that if it keeps getting debuffed, only 1 point will be left for him. In the magic tower, the body structure changes based on stats. If agility decreases, the body becomes heavier and eventually he won't be able to move. Once that happens, he can't continue as a challenger. He ends up burdened with debt and stuck with a completely worthless skill. The system shows him that he will be revived, so he should get ready, but he is getting frustrated. He then wakes up and sees himself on the destroyed ground, wondering if he has come back to life. He sits up and notices that his body feels heavy, thinking it is probably because his agility has become 1. He knows that with it, even moving around is going to be tough for him. He looks around, wondering where that place is and if he was right that he has fallen to a lower floor. He feels something around him, making him wonder what that atmosphere is because he has never heard of such a place in the lower levels. Then, he notices something shining in front of him and is shocked to see that it is a skill stone, and it is golden, which means it is ultra rare. He knows that it can be sold for a high price and it might be possible to repay the debt he took on. He tries to stand up, knowing that it is the only thing he is determined to bring back with him no matter what, and walks slowly to it. He notices that there are no monsters there, making him think that it is easy to win, but then he steps on tiles and the wall releases a lot of holes. Suddenly, it throws knives that hit him in every part of his body, including his eye, making him shout in pain and die for the 5th time. His infinite revival has been activated, and as his death penalty, a permanent debuff of -65 strength has been applied. He revives again and notices that the place is a trap. Clenching his teeth, he declares that such a level shouldn't even think it can stop him. However, he notices that he can't move his limbs and his muscle strength is reduced. Leaning on the wall in weakness, He pushes against it only to realize that it is another trap. Suddenly, a statue dragon emerges from underground, glaring at him with its red eyes, and burns him alive. He dies for the 6th time, revived once more. As his death penalty, a permanent debuff of -250 HP is applied. He jumps to the side to avoid the continuous fire coming from the dragon statue and rolls to get closer to the rare skill. He is glad to see that he is closer and realizes that the reason for the narrow passage's existence is to lure challengers enticed by rare skills and to effectively kill them with traps. He knows that, under normal circumstances, no matter how many lives they have, they wouldn't be able to pass through. But he remarks that, unfortunately and surely, he is currently the weakest challenger in that magic tower, but he already has plenty of alternative lives. He then runs toward the rare skill, but then a huge blade falls above him, killing him for the 7th time. His infinite revival is activated, and as his death penalty, his magic power is debuffed to -80 and his technical capabilities to -55. A moment later, he wonders how many times he has died because he has no sensation in his entire body and his vision is also blurry. While getting debuffed by -90 vitality and -40 magic resistance as a penalty once more, he gets pierced by a swarm of spears coming from underground and gets debuffed by -60 intelligence, making him feel like his consciousness is about to fade away. However, he manages to grab the rare skill, thinking it is his victory, but he slowly collapses. The system asks him if he wants to use the skill stone. A moment later, the system shows him that since there is no response, its automatic usage will be initiated, and he has acquired the skill inversion. After that, he wakes up confused because he feels stronger and his consciousness is clear. He wonders what is going on because he doesn't feel the effects of the death penalties that were so harsh before. He then tells the system to check his status and is shocked to see that the powerful negative effects he had been receiving until now have all turned into positives. The system then shows him that the skill inversion's effect is to reverse all effects, including buffs, debuffs, and status abnormalities. He understands that thanks to that skill, all the debuffs he had received so far have been reversed into positive effects. However, he wonders when he had acquired such a skill. Then, he sees the rare skill stone box and realizes it is empty, making him wonder if it had been automatically used. He realizes that his money is gone. However, he thinks it might be a good thing because all the penalties of infinite revival are reversed by inversion. He'll get stronger every time he dies. With that power, as a challenger, he can now rise to the top. Once more, he swears that no matter what, he will become the strongest challenger, earn a fortune, and acquire fame. He then looks behind him and sees the path with his blood spread everywhere, wondering if, in order to return home, he'd have to go that way. He knows that the instant death trap has returned to its pre-activated state, making him wonder if it will be activated again once he gets close and if it means he'll be killed again by all those instant death traps. He panics and shouts that there is no way he can do it because even if he is revived, it is still insanely painful, and if he dies too many times in a row, then definitely he'd go insane. He shivers upon remembering the pain he went through, but he knows that his current stats are now double the original thanks to his inversion skill, making him guess that he might be able to break through the trap head-on. He gulps in fear and faces the traps, knowing that there is no other way and he has no choice but to give it a try. When he has finished convincing himself, he dashes forward at speed, and suddenly, a wall comes out from underground. Then arrows are thrown at him. The arrows come closer to him. He sweats as one of the arrows comes dangerously close to his eye, but he manages to dodge them using his agility and lands unharmed. He can't believe he can now see the traps ahead, but he avoids them at speed and runs past. Suddenly, the huge blade appears above him to kill him instantly, but it's too slow for him now, and he dashes past it easily. Bending down, he prepares for the next trap and charges toward the dragon statue emerging from underground. The statue opens its mouth to unleash fire, but he quickly opens his inventory, clicks his weapon out, grabs his sword, and shatters the statue before it can burn him alive. However, as he lands, he accidentally steps on a trap tile, and a swarm of knives is hurled toward him. Calmly, he waits for them to near, then swings his sword, blocking every knife. Finally, he sighs in relief, having passed all the traps. He's now convinced that the combination of infinite revival, which debuffs him each time, and inversion can truly make him the strongest challenger. Looking up, he realizes the sheer height of the hole he fell through. Before, climbing back would have been impossible, but now he positions himself and jumps, rapidly scaling the side until he reaches the floor where the elite demon waits. Seeing the demon standing there, he smirks and apologizes for making it wait. He drops to the floor, and the demon approaches. He slashes at it, but the demon blocks barehanded and hurls him away. The elite demon braces itself, and he points his half-sword at it, taunting, "Want to try killing me again?" The demon roars in fury, but he coolly replies, "I'll play along." Leaping toward it, he challenges, "How long do you think you can fight my infinite lives with just one of your own?" The demon meets him with a claw swipe, but he dodges, marveling at how his stats have grown. He slashes its hand, making it scream, then mocks, "Your attacks don't scare me anymore." Kicking off its neck, he propels himself higher and strikes with full force, slamming the demon into the wall. Landing, he thinks he's won, until the demon unleashes a shockwave of power. He barely dodges, and the attack misses. "Close," he jeers, then frowns. "You're too strong for a third-floor monster." He dashes in, aiming for its head, but the demon unfurls wings and tries to crush him. He backflips away, then leaps higher, his enhanced stats letting him match its speed. The demon soars after him, attacking relentlessly, but he parries each strike, noting its unnatural strength. "What are you?" he demands, but the demon only growls. "Fine.
No answers?
Then let's end this." The demon gathers energy in both hands, forming a sword of pure power. He curses, "This is serious." The demon lunges, and he barely evades, but it teleports behind him and slams him down. His sword blocks the strike, shattering the ground beneath them. Grinning, he taunts, "Almost got me," then freezes. The demon's other hand glows. "Oh sure." The blast hits his head, killing him instantly. Death penalty. -40 strength inversion reverses it to +40. Revived, he lunges from behind, but the demon blocks. Furious, he snarls, "You dare kill me?" and unleashes a flurry of strikes. Revival or not, that hurt. His buffed strength pushes the demon back, but it's not enough. He slashes its torso, making it shriek. Then it retaliates with a massive explosion, killing him again. Death penalty. -60 agility inversion flips it to +60. Relieved, he revives, now faster. "You fought well," he tells the demon, "but it's over." Blitzing forward at blinding speed, he dodges its attack and cleaves it in half. The demon's body shatters, but doesn't explode. Stunned, he approaches. "Even in hell or another life, I hope we meet again. Next time, a fair fight." Exhausted, he sits, relieved he won, but frustrated he died twice despite growing stronger. His sword cracks, then shatters. "Need a better one." Gathering magic stones from the area, he heads to the safe zone on the first floor, Magic Tower Hermes. Safe zones are monster-free rest areas with shops. He buys a silver sword, expensive, draining most of his stones, but justifies it as an investment. As he inspects it, he hears whispers. Other challengers laugh, pitying him for being scammed into buying infinite revival. Angry, he snaps, "You knew? Should have warned me." But inwardly, he smirks. Infinite revival might be trash to them, but with inversion, it's god tier. A skill only I can master. Kinda cool, right? A sudden shout made him whirl around in alarm. A portly man surrounded by lackeys was sneering. "Didn't you claim you'd take on the mid-boss room on the 5th floor?" The man puffed out his chest. "I am Dominator Nishi." Recognition flashed across his face, followed by irritation. He knew Dominators earned their title by conquering a Magic Tower's final boss room, a feat that made the tower vanish and granted exclusive, powerful gear. While most Dominators commanded respect, Nishi's arrogance was legendary. His attention snapped to a fiery woman confronting Nishi. "Admit it," she yelled. "You only cleared some pathetic low-tier tower. Anyone could do that." Shiramaki Yuri, level 13, grabbed Seaman Mana's, level 15, arm. "Fighting won't help," Yuri urged. Mana shook her off. "We discovered this mid-boss room first. Should we let this fraud steal our rewards?" Yuri countered, "The rewards are tempting, but it's too dangerous. Maybe letting Nishi handle it is wise." Mana fell silent. Nishi smirked victoriously. "Seems settled. Little girls should stay quiet and watch." He tapped his gleaming chestplate. "My Dominator exclusive Aegis mesh blocks any attack." His cronies burst into mocking laughter. Just then, someone called for Yuri and Mana. It was him. Nishi shoved past the women, leering. "If it isn't Takamichi," Nishi jeered. "Word is you got swindled by that back-alley merchant. Bought some useless skill. How pathetic." He clenched his jaw but stayed silent. Turning to the women, he suggested, "Let's give the mid-boss to Nishi." "Why would you agree?" He calmly explained. "Afterwards, we three will blitz the top-floor boss, too fast for Nishi to follow." Yuri looked baffled. "This isn't empty boasting," he assured. "I've got a real plan." Nishi's face purpled with rage. "You motherfucker!" He lunged, bellowing, "Don't pretend I'm bullying you." With effortless grace, he sidestepped and tripped Nishi, sending the Dominator sprawling. As Nishi's lackeys rushed to help, he loomed over them. "Done rolling around?" he taunted. "Since we're all here, let's witness Dominator Nishi's legendary mid-boss skills. Shall we?" They soon arrived at Magic Tower Hermes' 4th floor. Mana tugged his sleeve worriedly. "Are you sure about following Nishi? You know he's not actually that strong." Yuri nodded anxiously, adding, "The monsters here are brutal. One wrong move could be fatal." He calmly reassured them it would be fine. Though Mana, level 15, and Yuri, level 13, out-leveled him, level 8. His enhanced stats from repeated deaths and revivals made him secretly confident he could handle any threat. Nishi called back mockingly, "Feel free to watch us crush the mid-boss, but you're on your own against the trash mobs." He nearly laughed at Nishi's renewed arrogance. Just moments ago, the so-called dominator had been trembling in fear. The ground suddenly quaked as a monstrous growl echoed through the chamber. A lizard man lunged at Nishi, who barely blocked with his shield. As Nishi counterattacked, the creature nimbly retreated. "Just one? Easy prey," Nishi boasted, but he immediately warned, "Wait!" Dozens of glowing eyes appeared in the shadows above as an entire swarm of lizard men descended, surrounding them. From the darkness emerged a hulking lizard commander. Its distinctive coloration and the way the others bowed marked it as their superior. With a mocking gesture, it signaled the attack. Mana shouted to Yuri, "Protect him!" The women quickly positioned themselves as his human shields. "I can fight too," he insisted, but Mana snapped, "Don't be reckless. These foes are way beyond you." Yuri pleaded, "Please stay back. It's too dangerous." Their protective stance stung. They still saw him as dead weight. Meanwhile, Nishi was struggling against the lizard commander's devastating strikes, barely avoiding decapitation before being hurled backward. As Nishi landed, a telltale click sounded beneath his feet. Oh sure, the floor gave way, sending him plummeting into darkness. "Nishi," the women cried, but he could only think bitterly, "Why did I have to be the one to fall last time?" Not that such traps threatened him anymore. He noticed the floor he was about to slam into but managed to descend safely by jumping from pillar to pillar. He stood up, relieved to not have a single injury, but then turned around upon hearing a growl from behind and saw a swarm of lizard commanders. Realizing there were many lizardman commanders and no way to run, he questioned if they intended not to let him escape. He then pulled something from his storage, confronting the lizard commanders with the declaration that he had had enough and was tired of all these traps. The lizard commanders were stunned by his presence as he challenged them to come at him, stating it didn't matter how many there were, it would merely serve as a test for his new sword. He also warned them they would soon realize their mistake. Swiftly, he pierced through the swarm of lizard commanders, telling them they would witness the consequences of bringing him to that place and referring to them as shitty lizards. The lizard commanders began to encircle him, reminding him that all the lizardmen present were of a higher rank and until recently, they were opponents he certainly couldn't have beaten. One of the lizard commanders leaped towards him to attack, but he calmly positioned his sword. When the lizard commander brought his sword down in an attack, he counterattacked with his sword, leaving the lizard commander stunned. He then swung his sword back and sliced the lizard commander in half while proclaiming that he could now defeat them. Two more lizard commanders jumped above him to strike him down, but he rolled in the air to dodge their attacks. When the two lizard commanders faced each other, he beheaded them with a single swipe of his sword while landing. Catching his breath, he sternly questioned the remaining lizard commanders about their hesitation, mocking them to try and kill him if they could, which only angered them further. However, he charged towards them and easily dispatched them with his sword. He realized that he could properly engage with that number of opponents and that he was no longer the person who needed protection. After eliminating a swarm of lizardmen, he addressed the retreating lizardmen, asserting that they were frightened of death. He confessed understanding their fear as he had experienced death himself, which is why he promised to end them swiftly. The lizard commander, now shivering and crying in fear, witnessed his resolve. A moment later, after taking a deep breath from finishing off all of them, he noticed a staircase leading to another floor. He approached the stairs, knowing it was time to ascend from there. After a considerable journey to the stairs, the door on the fourth floor opened and he stepped inside. Exhausted from the repetitive cycle of climbing up and tumbling down floors, he was met with astonishment by the ladies who rushed to his side. Yuri, with evident concern, approached him to check for any injuries, her inspection revealing none, which made her sigh in relief. She expressed her relief and her desire to have been of assistance, lamenting her inability to find any paths leading downward. Mana, equally concerned, questioned the plausibility of his solo journey, inquiring if he had encountered any monster attacks along the way. Surprised by their reaction, he reassured them that there were no issues, concealing the fact that he had slain a swarm of lizardman commanders on another floor. Curious about the fate of Nishi and the others, he inquired after them. Yuri hesitated, but Mana disclosed that after his descent into the hole, she managed to fend off a group of lizardmen. Mana expressed her irritation, noting the irony that Nishi, the trigger of the trap, remained unscathed while he suffered the fall. He, however, urged her not to dwell in anger, reminding her that Nishi's behavior was typical. Turning to Mana and Yuri with earnest gratitude for their concern, he elicited a puzzled yet warm smile from both ladies. With a bashful demeanor, he suggested they expedite their pursuit, hinting at the possibility of catching up with Nishi and the others. However, his urgency turned to shock upon noticing a lizardman lurking behind the ladies, prompting speculation about its association with the creatures Nishi and the others had failed to vanquish. The situation escalated quickly as the lizard commander lunged at Yuri. In a frantic attempt to protect her, he called out her name while reaching to intercept. As Yuri raised her gaze, the lizard commander launched an attack with its sword. He ceased his run upon realizing it might be too late, then bent down and leapt. Fortuitously, he blocked the lizardman's attack with his sword just in time. Yuri, taken aback by his sudden appearance, watched as Mana engaged the lizard commander, insisting they leave it to her. She then slashed the lizard commander's chest with her dagger and looked back, warning him of the danger. But he merely sighed, sheathing his sword back into his inventory. Yuri awkwardly approached him, expressing her gratitude for the rescue. He shyly acknowledged that he was glad to have arrived in time. Amidst their awkward conversation, Mana, observing them with a smile, inquired how he managed to counter the attack. With a smirk, he suggested that perhaps he could indeed be useful, asserting that he was no longer merely dead weight. Moments later, they reached the magic tower Hermes' 5th floor. While the two ladies engaged in conversation behind him, he checked his status and discovered a remarkable increase of 2 levels following his confrontation with a multitude of Lizardman commanders. He recognized that the enhancement in his status wasn't due to a buff or debuff, indicating that it wasn't subject to reversal. He also noted a significant improvement in his stats, pondering the magnitude of this increase given the nature of his recent battles. He observed that the increase in his ATK from the inverted death penalty was 65, starkly contrasting with the modest increase of 2 from his level ups. This led him to conclude that the synergy between the death penalty and inversion was profoundly powerful. Suddenly, Yuri called out to draw his attention forward where he saw the room of the 5th floor mid-boss. Mana shared that the magic tower Hermes is believed to encompass 10 floors, placing them at the midpoint of the tower. Given that the conquest of the tower had commenced not long ago, Yuri and she were the pioneers in uncovering this room. However, upon returning to the 1st floor to strategize for the battle, they found themselves ensnared by Nishi. Mana shouted in anger, exclaiming that just thinking about the situation infuriated her. Yuri attempted to pacify Mana once more, and he informed them that Nishi and his group should be just ahead. He pushed the door open, imparting that no amount of preparation or strategy could fully anticipate a mid-boss's challenge, underlining the seriousness required. As he stepped inside, a man was suddenly thrown into the air, unnoticed by him until it was too late. The man crashed against the wall with a hard slam but fortunately remained alive. Turning his attention forward, Nishi noticed their arrival. He acknowledged his survival and directed attention to the mid-boss guarding the room. The Orc Lord, enraged, leaped towards Nishi and attacked. He called out to Nishi with concern, but Nishi dismissively assured him that he required no concern from his likes. As the Orc Lord brought down its axe, Nishi blocked the strike with his shield, boasting that an attack of such caliber couldn't penetrate his Aegis mesh. Nishi managed to repel the Orc Lord's axe, causing the creature to kneel from imbalance. Nishi explained that the group battle with the Lizardmen caught him off guard with a surprise attack, but in a one-on-one confrontation, he had no intention of losing. Nishi then cautioned him not to look away, promising to demonstrate that he was on a completely different level compared to small fry like him. Yuri approached the man who had been thrown to inquire if he was okay, to which he replied that somehow he was. The man then marveled at Nishi's prowess, noting that despite being sent flying by just one attack, Nishi stood unflinching. The Orc Lord swung its axe at Nishi, who merely used his shield to block the attack. Nishi remained steadfast, his footing pierced into the floor from the force of the Orc Lord's blow, yet he teased the creature with a smile, provoking it into a furious scream. The Orc Lord then lifted its axe, gathering force for a series of powerful directional swings at Nishi. Exhausted and catching its breath, the Orc Lord was taken aback when Nishi mocked, "Is this the true power of a mid-boss?" teasingly questioning if a creature like it posed any real challenge. As the Orc Lord persisted in its futile attempts to strike Nishi, he observed from a distance, speculating on the shield's origin, presumably a reward from a boss within the magic tower, and its unique power. He acknowledged that Nishi's personal might wasn't exceptional, but the shield enabled Nishi to fend off the mid-boss's attacks effortlessly. With another attack from the Orc Lord, Nishi nonchalantly remarked on the simplicity of its tactics. He then used his shield to push the Orc Lord back, signaling his minions to engage. They swiftly attacked the Orc Lord's flanks, causing it significant pain. Nishi seized the moment to leap above the Orc Lord, scolding it for its vulnerability and forcefully striking its head with his shield. The Orc Lord, overcome with pain, fell defeated. Nishi then turned mockingly, inquiring how the spectacle was received, boastfully crediting the victory to the true power of a challenger. He smiled, acknowledging the significant advantage conferred by unique equipment. Nishi, delighted by the acknowledgement, laughed off the suggestion that they, as lesser challengers, could have managed to defeat a mid-boss, urging them to show gratitude towards him, the great Nishi. At that moment, another man urgently pointed out something behind Nishi, urging him to look at the astonishing sight. Nishi turned only to find himself shocked by the presence of a huge treasure chest. Nishi, overcome with excitement, rushed to the treasure chest, proclaiming the certainty of finding a super rare item within. Embracing the chest, he declared it superior even to the one that had contained the Aegis mesh. But then Yoshida, haunted by the memory of previous traps and puzzled over the presence of such a remarkable chest as a reward for a fifth-floor mid-boss, he called out to Nishi, urging caution, aware that even a moment's inattention could trigger the tower's notorious traps. As Nishi opened the treasure chest, disappointment struck when he found it empty. He shielded his face, eyes reflexively shutting as a bright light enveloped them. In mere seconds, they found themselves teleported elsewhere within the tower. Upon regaining his bearings, he cared their new location. Mana and Yuri, equally alarmed, confirmed they were no longer in the mid-boss room. Nishi's shout of disbelief echoed through the space, prompting him to call out Nishi's name in confusion. Nishi, stricken with horror, revealed he had felt this ominous atmosphere only once before. Asked to specify their whereabouts, Nishi disclosed they were on the magic tower's top floor. As a purple magic power circle formed in front of them, a man of imposing stature appeared seated upon a throne, signaling to everyone. As Nishi pointed out that they had inadvertently entered the boss room, the boss then opens its eyes and unleashes a scream, causing the room to shake uncontrollably. He couldn't believe they were actually in the boss room, but then a system pop-up appeared in front of them, warning that they were in the magic tower Hermes' top floor, and that fork teleportation to the boss room was confirmed. Upon reading the system message, he realized that the boss in front of them was the master of the magic tower, the Ogre Emperor. Suddenly, the Emperor dashed towards them, appearing above at incredible speed. He swung down his sword, breaking the floor in the process, but fortunately they all dodged in time. He realized that the Ogre Emperor was on a different level than any enemy he had faced before, and except for him their stats weren't enough, which meant they couldn't fight the Ogre Emperor head-on. He shouted to them to get back and that he would handle it, but Nishi shouted back at him not to spew nonsense and to stay quiet or else he would get himself killed. He was going to explain that even if he died he would be revived, but before he could explain, Nishi dashed towards the Emperor while shouting to his men to attack. The man swung his sword and hit the Emperor's feet, and the other men also struck the Emperor. The man was confident that their attack was a sure hit, but the Emperor didn't even get scratched by it and raised his sharp claws to attack back. But then Nishi, shouting, ran towards him and shouted not to underestimate him, the Dominator Nishi. However, when the Emperor swung his claws down at Nishi, he was slashed his shield, shattering into pieces, leaving everyone stunned in horror and shock. Yoshida was also stunned, recalling Nishi's assurance that his Aegis mimes could defend against any type of attack. However, the system displayed a message to everyone stating that due to insufficient stats, the ability of Aegis MES could not be activated. This left him staring in disbelief at the lifeless Nishi on the ground, pondering the system's message. The man rushed to Nishi in worry, but Yaido urged them to get away from there. Confused, he hesitated, and it was too late. The Emperor bisected him with a swift slash of his sword, killing him instantly. He clenched his trembling hand and bit his lip in anger, facing the Ogre Emperor with determination. As the Emperor advanced towards them, Mana and Yuri, paralyzed with horror, insisted that they should flee. Mana glanced towards the door, shouting that they could still run, only to be shocked to find that the door was sealed with magic, blocking their escape. Yuri, tears streaming down her face in fear, asked if they were going to die there as well. As the Emperor pulled his sword back, gathering force for another strike, he aimed it down at Yuri, who was too petrified to move. Accepting her fate, she closed her eyes. Suddenly, someone dashed in front of her, blocking the Emperor's attack with his sword, leaving the ladies utterly stunned. He declared that he wouldn't let anyone else die from that point on, swearing to make it happen even at the cost of his own life. The Emperor tried to attack him once again, but he managed to jump away to avoid it. He essayed and slashed at the Emperor's chest, but noticed his attack was shallow. The Emperor countered with incredible speed, appearing above him and shocking him. It then swung its sword down, shattering the floor, but fortunately he managed to dodge in time. He ran back towards the Emperor at full speed and attempted to strike its head, but the Emperor blocked his attack. Yuri asked Mana what was happening, and Mana could hardly believe that Yoshida was fighting the boss one-on-one. Despite being enhanced by the death penalty, he was still being pushed back by the Emperor, a testament to the boss's strength. Realizing he lacked the necessary stats to defeat the Emperor, he decided to focus on depleting the Emperor's stamina first. He taunted the Emperor, declaring he would kill it after dying a few times himself. After a swift dash, they engaged in a fierce one-on-one battle, during which Yoshida managed to strike the Emperor's head repeatedly, provoking its anger. The Emperor retaliated, and Yoshida, recognizing his limit, allowed the Emperor to kill him with its claws. Before his body hit the ground, he saw Yuri stunned and horrified scream as the system announced his death. As a death penalty, a permanent due of 55 agility was applied, which due to his inversion skill became a bonus of plus 55 agility. He reassured Yuri, telling her it was all good because he would continue to revive until the Emperor was defeated. Mana mentioned the infinite revival, but Yuri pointed out that using it triggered significant negative effects, leaving them wondering how he could still fight after being killed by the Emperor again. His residential increased by 20, and after another death, his HP increased by 320. However, he knew these stats were not what he needed. He then fervently wished for a stat increase that could deal fatal damage to enemies. Waiting for the Emperor's attack, it killed him instantly. He opened his eyes quickly, sitting up from his prone position, catching his breath. He looked at his hand and then placed it on his face, expecting the excruciating pain of death to drive him mad. However, he smiled, realizing his desired stat had increased. His attack had increased by 140. Delighted by the significant increase, he noticed another system update indicating that he had unlocked the ability to specify a respawn point due to reaching a certain level of proficiency with the infinite revival skill. Curious, he accessed the system for a more detailed explanation. Understanding its utility, he grinned, recognizing how useful it would be. He then stood up, ready to be revived once more. He spawned back to life, prepared for the next phase of the battle. While being spawned, he guesses the new feature is probably to prevent him from getting stuck if he were unable to respawn anywhere other than exactly where he had died. There would be a large number of cases where he would just die again, but if he were able to choose his respawn point, he should be able to escape a death loop. He then walks to the side of the Emperor, knowing that if it was on the battlefield just like it could be used to get to his opponent's blind spot. He stops behind the Emperor's back, bends down, ready to be revived, and jumps behind the Emperor while shouting that this time it's his turn to kill the Emperor. He then hits the Emperor with his sword from behind, making it shout in pain. Mana shouts in disbelief that he moved to the back in just a moment, making him confused and wonder if that was how it seemed to them. The Emperor then looked back and swung his sword at him, but he bowed his head down in time to avoid it while shouting that Nishi and those men were a nasty bunch, but still he never thought for a single time that they deserved to die. He then asks if he is right that by defeating the boss of a magic tower he can get his hands on a unique item, but tells them that right now what he desires even more than that is the Emperor's life. The Emperor once again attacked him with its sword, but the Emperor was shocked to see that he dodged it and shattered its sharp claws. He then swung his sword forward to the Ogre Emperor, who was sweating in fear, and successfully hit it in the head, making it shout in pain and lie on the ground defeated. He exhaled in relief and put his sword back in his inventory. The system showed him that he had defeated the boss of the magic tower Hermes, and the conquest reward was a unique piece of equipment and magic stones that had been sent to his inventory. He was happy about the reward he got, but had mixed feelings about it. Suddenly Yuri hugged him from behind and thanked God that he was safe, but then realized her action and walked away while apologizing to him in shyness. He told Yuri that it was fine, and Mana thanked him. Mana tells him that if he hadn't defeated the boss Yuri, and she would definitely have died. But Weekly tells him that the way he was fighting is too reckless, and sacrificing himself like that over and over again is painful to watch. She then apologized to him that even though he saved them, she was complaining. He patted her head and told her not to worry about it. He then apologized to her for making her watch him die so many times and tells them that even if he failed over and over again, he would always come back. That said, he then shouts that it was really hurt seriously and remembers that he has said the same thing somewhere before. Mana stuttering replies that he was right, tears welling up in her eyes. He then catches his breath and tells them that as much as possible he'll do his best not to die. The ladies exchange smiles and both agree with him. Suddenly their conversation is interrupted when the tower shakes, and then the system notifies them that the boss of the magic tower Hermes has been defeated, so the Hermes tower will disappear in 10 seconds and they will be forcefully relocated. Yuri remembers that after defeating the boss, magic towers disappear. He waves them goodbye and tells them that they should meet again outside. He then looks back at the dead men on the floor and tells them that he won't forget them. He bids them goodbye. On the other hand, from outside, the Hermes tower shook and slowly disappeared until it was gone, as if it never existed. Meanwhile, in some office, a lady asks if the Hermes tower was conquered, even though it wasn't supposed to be even half complete yet. A man hands a tablet to the lady and tells her that it was as she said. However, the disappearance of Hermes has been confirmed to be true, and a detailed report on the matter should be arriving soon. The lady puts the tablet down on the table and asks the man if she was right to think it's become somewhat amusing. Before that, on the street, Yoshida woke up and stood up while the people around him were shocked to see that the magic tower Hermes was disappearing. He stared at the tower slowly disappearing in front of everyone, looked at his palm, closed it, and raised it while shouting confidently that he conquered it. He excitedly smiled, but his smile faded away in an instant. He then heard someone asking if the boss of Hermes was really defeated, even though it wasn't even supposed to have been explored to the 5th floor yet, and if some strong individual took down the boss. While he carefully listened to them, he wants to shout that the one who defeated the boss was him, but he knows he would have been happy to announce it like that if there hadn't been any casualties. He stands up, thinking that conquering a magic tower for the first time has really increased his self-confidence. He then tells himself that they should not get too carried away. He peeks back at the people who are in shock and decides to keep it a secret that he is the one who defeated the boss for now because he would stand out too much. He then silently walked away, deciding to quietly get out of there, but then Mana and Yuri noticed him and shouted his name, making him look back in shock. Mana excitedly asked him what kind of unique equipment the one he got from defeating the boss was, making him call Mana an idiot. Upon hearing Mana's words, the challengers stare at him, and they all know that he was definitely the one who got sold by that garbage skill, Infinite Revival, but he was now the dominator of Hermes. Later, he grabbed a drink from a vending machine in some alley, opened it, and was glad that they had finally got away. He remembered the challengers asking him how he defeated the boss, what kind of weapon he used, and asking him to join them. While others were clearly annoyed with him, Mana apologized to him and admitted that she had been careless. Yuri told him that taking down the boss of the magic tower and becoming the dominator of Hermes naturally made him the center of attention. He couldn't believe he was a dominator now and told them it felt strange because not long ago he was just a weakling challenger, but it seemed that buying the skill stone for Infinite Revival wasn't a mistake after all. Yuri realized something when she heard about Infinite Revival and asked him if it was true that there is a negative effect from dying and how he managed to use it so well. He scratched his head, unsure of what to answer, and wondered how he could even begin to explain about inversion and where he should even start. Yuri told him she wasn't trying to corner him and was just curious about it, so if it was difficult, he didn't need to answer. He agreed and drank his cola, but he knew it wasn't really that big of a deal to explain it to them. Mana told them to put the explanation aside for a moment. She then excitedly looked at him and asked him about the equipment he got as the reward for defeating the boss, making him stuttering tell her that she was pretty crazy about that kind of stuff. He then threw the can in the trash while telling them to wait for a second and tried to open his status window, but he realized he couldn't open it. Mana told him it was because they were outside of the magic tower. Fundamentally, the window can only be opened while inside a magic tower, and the use of various other things such as stats or skills are also limited to the inside of the magic tower. Because of that system, there aren't incidents of challengers causing problems in normal society. However, there is one exception. The one place where challengers are able to use their power outside of the magic towers would be at the site of the magic towers. He extends his hand at the site of the magic tower Hermes and walks inside. When they enter the site of the magic tower Hermes, he tells them he still can't get used to the strange feeling that fills the site of the towers. He then opens his window, and the ladies immediately appear beside him. He tells them that the name of the unique equipment he received as a reward for conquering the tower is Fasaminos. He clicked the item, and a strong light came out from the system, making them all amazed. Then, a sparkling light appeared on his side, and when he opened his hand, a sword slowly appeared on it. He then holds Fasaminos, which is a unique weapon. The ladies were amazed to see the reward for clearing the Tower of Hermes and stared at his Fasaminos for a few minutes. He swung it around, telling them it was quite lightweight and easy to use, making him look forward to the next magic tower conquest. Mana noticed Yuri thinking and hesitating on her side, smiling softly, understanding her feelings and having an idea. Mana then walked closer to him and asked how about they form a party together from the beginning next time, shocking Yuri. Yuri then raised her hand and shouted that she wanted to join them too. He was momentarily taken aback by Yuri's reaction. Yuri, blushing, put her hand down and shyly asked if she could join them. He smiled and told her that she certainly could because they were already close friends after all. The ladies happily looked at each other and shouted in unison that they did it. Mana then excitedly looked at him, leaned in, and asked which magic tower they should go to next, whether it should be of a similar scale to Hermes or perhaps a larger magic tower. She suggested challenging Zeus, to which Yuri replied that they shouldn't. He thought for a moment while the ladies argued behind him. He then got their attention by saying that after leaving Hermes, there was a place he wanted to visit right away. Yuri, worried and stuttering, only asked him where that was, and he replied that it was in Tokyo at the Challengers Management Bureau. The ladies, confused, asked him why they're in not a magic tower. He explained to them that, as they knew, the Management Bureau buys magic stones and equipment at higher prices than the magic tower stalls, so he wanted to go there to exchange his items for money. He confessed that after purchasing Infinite Revival, he was completely broke and had even accrued debt, leaving the ladies staring at him in stunned silence. The Tokyo Challenger Management Bureau is a government-operated organization aimed at supporting adventurers. It offers real-time updates on each magic tower. The buying and selling of magic stones and weapons are conducted at fair prices, and unlike the often dubious deals at the magic tower stalls, the Management Bureau is known for its fairness and is highly valued. Additionally, since it's built on the site of a magic tower, there are no restrictions on the power of the challengers, which is another significant feature. Among the rewards for clearing Hermes, There were not only unique weapons but also magic stones, making him hopeful he could make some money. The lady welcomed him and asked if he would like to exchange his magic stones for money, to which he replied yes and opened his inventory. While waiting on the system, he wondered how many magic stones there were. Clicking it, both he and the lady were surprised by the abundance that appeared. He was stunned that there was indeed that many magic stones as part of the rewards for clearing the dungeon. She then, stuttering, told him they should proceed with the exchange process, visibly charmed by the quantity. A moment later, with shaking hands, he asked the lady if she was serious and realized that even with his debt, he was now wealthy. He walked back to Yuri and Mana, excitedly asking them what he should do with the money. Yuri advised that it was probably best to avoid reckless spending, a sentiment Mana agreed with. Mana then warned him not to get carried away and end up back in debt from overspending, a thought that made his dream of extravagance vanish as he replied that he got it. Suddenly, the lady saw him and told him she had found him, making him feel a surge of strong power. She approached him, revealing she had heard of his arrival at the management bureau and had come looking for him. She stopped in front of him, and as he faced her, he asked who she was. She introduced herself as Ryo Fun, the chief of Tokyo's Challenger Management Bureau, and asked if she could have a moment of his time. She then seriously addressed him as the dominator of the Magic Tower Hermes, Takamichi Yoshida. He noticed that Fun's face was quite familiar to him and remembered that within the management bureau that gathers tower challengers, Fun is known as a monster, reputed to be the strongest. He guessed she was scouted to the management bureau after conquering 3 magic towers as a challenger and recalled that she even appeared in advertisements for the bureau. Her face was ubiquitous across the city, but he wondered why she was seeking him out specifically. He then asked her what the president of the management bureau wanted with him, and she replied that first, she intended to hold a hearing about how he suddenly conquered the magic tower of Hermes, and second, she aimed to verify the true power of the new dominator. After he recounted everything and followed her, she acknowledged that he was caught in a trap and moved to the boss's room, noting that this information must be reported to the other challengers. She expressed her gratitude for his openness and informed him that regarding Dominator Nishi and his party, the management bureau would ensure to contact their surviving family members. Noticing their silence, she explained that it was not uncommon for people to lose their lives while challenging the magic towers, but it goes without saying that such losses were painful. This left him stunned, and he bit his lip, realizing that they had been telling themselves there was nothing they could do about Nishi and the others, but the truth was that it was very painful for them. He wiped away his tears, finding some comfort in being able to acknowledge this pain openly. A moment later, he inquired about their location, to which Fun responded that they were in the management bureau's training room. While they were busy looking around, Fun called his name and threw something at him, which he caught. It was a sword, but he noted it felt a bit dull. She explained it was the type of sword used in the management bureau's training hall and told him that from now on, he could use it. She then thrust another object into the floor and declared she would allow him to fight her, stating that properly understanding the true power of dominators was also the responsibility of the chief of the bureau. He acknowledged that refusing Fun's challenge seemed impossible, but Mana's encouragement to assert his dominance by claiming he'd send the bureau chief flying made him laugh, albeit forcefully. He mused over Mana's confidence, then gripped the sword tighter, resolving to face the challenge with utmost seriousness. "If I'm to do this, I might as well give it my all," he declared. Fun inquired if he was ready, and with a firm yes, he braced himself, aware that his adversary was the formidable chief of the management bureau. He couldn't help but think he might present a tougher challenge than she anticipated, given his conquest of a towering boss. "Let's begin," Fun announced. To his shock, she vanished from sight, only to reappear beside him like a gust of wind, launching a swift strike that he narrowly evaded by bending away. Fun pressed on, her onslaught of attacks relentless. Despite his efforts to dodge and block, her speed was overwhelming, forcing him to retreat while parrying her strikes. Eventually, he tumbled and leaped back, creating distance. Panic set in, and when he sensed her presence right behind him, with a quick turn and dash, he evaded her surprise attack from behind. Gasping for breath and grappling with the realization of Fun's overpowering strength, he reflected on his journey. He had overcome the boss through repeated deaths, yet here he stood, facing a dominator who had conquered magic towers without succumbing once. The disparity in their abilities was stark, yet it wasn't the moment to dwell on differences or let frustration take hold. "If defense alone won't cut it, I'll turn the tables by embracing the very risk of death that others shy away from," he thought. Fun, mid-attack, found herself taken aback as he boldly announced the start of his offensive, charging forward to meet her in the center of the room. She slowed down upon seeing it and tightly grasped her sword. When he noticed this, he lifted his sword backward to gain force and swung it down at her while shouting that he was faster now. However, she dodged it easily and positioned herself for an attack. He couldn't believe it and was thrown back by her attack, growling in pain. She told him it was unexpected. Landing on the floor, he retorted that against a regular monster or person, she would be able to evade her opponent's attacks with no problem, and he launched another attack at her. She effortlessly blocked his attack and counterattacked, which he avoided, telling her that just now, if she hadn't hesitated, it would have been a one-sided fight. She rolled her sword in her hand and swung at him, but he jumped away, landing at a distance from her. He told her that she thought he was defenseless and hesitated for a moment to attack him with her sword, but he didn't think it was just her being kind to him because he was acting in a way she didn't understand, so he thought her hand simply froze out of instinct. However, he also took a chance, and the reason is that he has infinite revival. He then dashed toward her, apologizing for playing unfairly. She blocked his sword, and he explained that without doing so, there was no way an ordinary person could win against her. She pushed him away when she retracted her sword and dodged his attack, remembering that she had received a report on infinite revival and that Yoshida could return from death endlessly, moving forward without fear of death. She appeared closer to him, pondering that Yoshida's skill was a fearsome ability. She then struck Yoshida with the sword handle in the face, sending him flying, and warned him it wouldn't happen a second time. He cursed, saying that it hurt, but then he stared at her, and she was shocked when he managed to point his sword close to her chest. He then told her that compared to dying, her attack didn't hurt at all. She stared at him seriously for a moment and smiled. She then turned around and told him she understood his power now and would acknowledge her loss this time, but she stopped talking when he collapsed to the floor. She bent down closer to him in confusion, and he shakily told her he didn't care who won or lost, but he needed medical treatment. He then passed out, and his soul emerged from his body, causing Yuri and Mana to rush to him, worried in a panic. Mana urged Yuri to quickly push his soul back, which Yuri did in an attempt to save him. A moment later, he awoke and realized he had almost died. Fun reminded him that he hadn't actually died, which made him exclaim to her that that wasn't the point. He took a deep breath to calm himself and told her that since they had fought, it should be settled, and he asked if he could now return. However, she replied no, telling him that they still needed to have an important conversation. He asked what she meant by that, and she explained that as the chief of the management bureau, she had verified his true power exceeded that of an average member. Because of this, she wished to extend a special request to him. Yuri inquired about the nature of a special request from the chief of the bureau, and Mana added that it was the one rumored to offer an absolutely amazing reward. Fun informed him that the reward could be given in cash, believing it to be an amount that would fully satisfy him. He expressed his appreciation for her offer but asked for the details of the request. She revealed that a few hours ago, the management bureau had verified the appearance of a new tower. Currently, the entrance was being sealed off, so she wanted him to enter that tower and gather information about it. She further explained that it was the preliminary investigation of the Magic Tower Prani, and it was a request she could only entrust to him. He questioned whether it wasn't standard procedure for the Management Bureau to investigate whenever a new magic tower appeared, and why she specifically wanted him to undertake this task. She explained that they had already dispatched challengers from the Management Bureau, 2 parties of 5, making a total of 10 people, but not a single one had returned. Yuri, worriedly, asked if truly not even one person returned. Mana, incredulous, suggested that surely it couldn't be true. Fun admitted that she too initially doubted the news but had to accept it as fact when the search team they sent afterward found every single one of the dispatched challengers dead near the entrance. They all seemed to be desperately trying to escape yet looked as though they ran out of energy just a step away from the exit. He asked her to wait a moment, questioning if he was correct in assuming the area near the entrance should be a safe zone, to which she agreed. He pointed out that monsters shouldn't appear in a safe area and questioned why they would die there. She responded that the bodies of the challengers bore no wounds from monster attacks, leaving the cause of death uncertain. Upon receiving the report, she had only requested the retrieval of their bodies, calling back the search team immediately due to the dangerous implications and their lack of understanding regarding the cause of death. She then informed him that this was the current situation at the Magic Tower Prani. He sighed, realizing that because of his infinite revival ability, she wanted to offer him that special request. She cautioned him not to misunderstand, as she had no intention of carelessly risking his life. However, she also couldn't permit any more deaths within the Management Bureau. She then walked closer to him, asking seriously if he would accept the request for her sake. He looked at her silently for a moment, sighed, and replied that he understood. Later, in the Magic Tower Prani, he enters the safe area. He inhales deeply and slaps himself to gather his thoughts. He then swore that he would identify the cause of death of the challengers, feeling the urgent need to alleviate everyone's worries, especially recalling Yuri crying and pleading with him not to die. He opened his inventory, determined to move forward, and took out his item, knowing they were relying on him. He then grabbed his Fasamino's sword and proceeded deeper into the tower. In the hallway, skeleton monsters roamed, but he dashed behind them, startling the skeletons and easily killing them with a single strike. He noticed that his Fasaminos was light and easy to swing, but he had expected it to be unique equipment. He was about to test out the unique ability of his Fasaminos when purple smoke appeared behind him. He felt the power of the smoke but realized it too late as the smoke enveloped him. He tried to cover his face as the smoke approached, swinging his sword continuously in front of him while yelling at the smoke to get away. However, the system pop-ups appeared, and he was shocked to read what they displayed. After reading, he understood the cause of all the challengers' deaths. It was the abnormal condition known as the Curse of Prani, which had now afflicted him, causing him to face death in 120 seconds. His breathing became labored as seconds passed, but he knew it was the right decision to involve him, acknowledging that a normal challenger would have panicked in such a situation. He knew that if they could leave the magic tower, any abnormal conditions, buffs, and debuffs would be cancelled. The dispatched challengers, afflicted by the curse, would have frantically made their way to the exit, yet despite reaching the safe area, the curse took effect just one step away from it. He realized it made sense that there were no injuries on the bodies because the cause of death was that abnormal condition. He was surprised when the purple smoke rose in front of him, but it then slowly drifted to the side and hurried away, leaving him alone. Realizing that after transferring the curse onto him, it had completed its task, he became infuriated and yelled at it not to underestimate him. It goes without saying that against his infinite revival ability, the curse's effects would be inverted. The curse then reversed, fully restoring his condition. Smiling, he thanked the curse and chased after it, shouting that because of the curse, his body was in perfect condition. He looked in the direction where the cursed smoke had retreated, wondering if he should give chase. Upon reaching the entrance of the room surrounded by the cursed smoke, he realized that normal challengers wouldn't stand a chance against the tower. He walked into the room, noticing the fog thickening, and was shocked to see a huge pot of purple water in the center. He deduced that it must be the source of the cursed smoke. Suddenly, a sharp magic ball was thrown at him, but he narrowly avoided it by turning his head to the side just in time. When it hit the wall, it exploded, and then a monster emerged from the pod. It was the cursed spring gatekeeper, which threw numerous magic balls at him. He easily dodged them while retrieving his Fasaminos from his inventory. It shook in anger upon seeing him avoid its attack and screamed in anger. Thick smoke then rose up from the pod, shocking him. It hurled the cursed smoke at him and clapped its hands in excitement, eager to see him suffer. He understood that it controlled the cursed smoke, and its killing intent was literally overflowing due to its overlapping curses. Suddenly, a skeleton appeared behind him, ready to slash him, but he turned around and cut the skeleton in half just in time. He then noticed that the cursed spring gatekeeper had called for more monsters. Skeletons rushed at him from all sides, and he tried his best to block them and fend them off on his own, but one skeleton found an opening and slashed him from behind. He fell to the ground, hurt, and collapsed in his own blood. The cursed spring gatekeeper laughed happily upon seeing him apparently dead, but he, smiling, asked it if it could afford to be so relaxed. Then, his inversion reversed all of his curses, fully restoring his condition. He then rose again and eliminated all of the skeletons in his way at speed, taunting the cursed spring gatekeeper by asking if it wasn't too bad and telling it that the magic tower's curse was nothing but the highest quality recovery medicine for him. He then slashed the cursed spring gatekeeper to pieces with his Fasaminos. Afterwards, he heard the water in the pod change, and when he looked down, he noticed that the spring's curse had disappeared. Later, in the Challengers Management Bureau Tokyo branch, Fun told him that she now understood that what killed the challengers in the Magic Tower Prani was the abnormal condition of that curse. However, she couldn't believe there was a curse that causes death and asked him if there was anything they could do about that curse. He threw something at her and told her that it was the best countermeasure for it. She caught the bottle with blue liquid and asked him what it was. While waiting for the system to identify it, he explained to her that after he defeated the monster that appeared from the cursed spring, the spring was purified, and he got his hands on it. The system then showed her that it was Prani's holy water, capable of dispelling the curse of Prani. After using it, they would be immune to new curses for 600 seconds. He told her that if the challengers used Prani's holy water and went in, even normal challengers should be able to advance without dying. He also told her that he only went up to the 3rd floor, but it seemed there was a cursed spring on every floor. That is when he properly understood that Prani is a magic tower that they have to climb by purifying the cursed springs and securing the holy water. Fun smiled upon hearing his report and respectfully thanked him. She then told him that if the warning signs and countermeasures were understood, Prani Tower could be opened up even to regular challengers. She then grabbed something on the table while telling him that he had completed her request and praised him for doing a great job. She then put a lot of money in front of him, and when she was done, he cursed in shock because it was a lot more than he expected. She asked him if it was not enough, and he immediately replied that it was enough. A moment later, he was in the street walking, and people looked at him confusedly. He was holding a bag, thinking that together with the rewards he got from the Hermes Tower, they were a ridiculous amount, making him sweatily wonder what he should spend them on. A few days later, he had fully repaid the debt from buying infinite revival. Even so, there was a lot of the reward left over, so he decided to go to a luxury brand store and buy expensive things for himself. He looked up at the bright sky and noticed that his new luxury items felt different to him. Suddenly, he heard Mana shouting, "Call Yuri and tell her that she heard anyone is allowed to enter Prainy now, so they should invite Yoshido and challenge it together." He panicked when he saw them and walked forward, hoping they hadn't noticed him. The ladies walked past him, and he sighed in relief as they continuously walked away, but then Mana looked back, noticing him. He immediately looked away in panic, but Mana stared at him and was shocked to recognize him. She then asked if it was really him, and he shouted at her not to act so grossed out. He then sheepishly explained that he suddenly got a lot of money and had no idea how to spend it. Yuri awkwardly told him that she thinks he looks cool, but he told her that even if she was trying to be considerate, it didn't feel good at all. Mana told him that they should put the strange outfit aside for now, making him tell Mana that she was so mean. Mana then told him that they should make an attempt at Prainy together, but he just asked Mana why she was so interested in it when it was supposed to be a pretty dangerous magic tower. Mana replied that magic stones altered by the cursed fog should sell for a ton, so any challenger confident in their abilities would be heading there. Yuri told them that according to the report from the management bureau, the challengers had already pushed to the 10th floor in only a few days and asked them if it wasn't at an abnormal pace. Mana then shouted at him that it was unfair that only he became rich and he should help them earn some money too. Yuri then shyly told him that she'd be happy to go to any magic tower as long as she can go with him. He thought as long as they bring some holy water, there shouldn't be any risk of death, and asked them if they should join the attack on Prainy, which the ladies agreed to. But he told them that before that, he should probably change his clothes. Meanwhile, in the Prainy magic tower, challengers lay dead on the floor with open eyes and Prainy's holy water unused. Someone in a cape holding a scythe floated in the air above them, and it was a powerful skeleton monster. Later, in the magic tower Prainy on the 10th floor, a skeleton monster launched its sword to attack, but Yoshida, wielding his Fasamino's sword, blocked it. He glared at the skeleton and easily slashed it into pieces, which increased his level to 16. Mana clapped and told him that he had become really strong now, while Yuri stared at him in silence. He told them that after killing all kinds of monsters, it was natural for his level to rise. He then walked toward them, knowing that it wouldn't make much of a difference in his stats, but if his level was too low, people would start probing about it, and he realized that he should try to raise it a bit more. Just then, the system popped up at his side and warned him that only 60 seconds remain for the effect of Prainy's holy water. Yuri told them that the curse nullification effect of the holy water would wear off soon, and Mana said that since that level spring had already been purified, she didn't think they would get cursed. However, she took out holy water and told him that he should use the holy water again just in case. He agreed and turned around. He knew that if he used the holy water and it got affected by his inversion, he would be cursed instead. He peeked back at the ladies and thought that he couldn't find the right time to tell them about his inversion and decided to explain it soon. He turned around to call them, but he was shocked to see a monster approaching them from above. He shouted to warn them, but it was too late because the skeleton grabbed Yuri and dragged her away, leaving them in shock. Mana worriedly shouted to Yuri, and Yuri dropped her holy water when she was dragged. The skeleton stopped to face them while still holding Yuri. The scythe the skeleton was holding released a purple cursed smoke that wrapped around Yuri, and he panicked when he noticed it. The system then popped up in front of Yuri, warning her that the curse of Prainy had been granted to her, and she would die in 120 seconds. He realized that it was a monster that could curse them, and he couldn't believe that they had just run into it when the holy water's effects wore off. He knew that Yuri couldn't take the holy water on her own. Mana rushed at the monster while shouting to Yuri that she would save her. She attacked it multiple times with her dagger, but it effortlessly rolled its scythe's handle to block her attacks. Then, it swung its scythe at her, attacking with such force that although she managed to block it, she was thrown away. Yuri called out to Mana in worry, and Mana managed to land on the floor, albeit in pain. He then jumped to get closer to the monster, telling Mana to fall back. He launched his sword at the monster, shouting to Mana that he would handle it, but the monster simply blocked his sword. Frustrated, he withdrew his sword and continuously thrust it forward at the monster, which merely glared at him and blocked every attack he launched. He couldn't believe he couldn't break through and realized that the monster wasn't just any minor foe. He then jumped back to his original position, puzzled, knowing that although it was strong, it had only focused on defense. What could it be thinking? Mana told them they needed to hurry because there weren't even 90 seconds left until Yuri's curse took effect. Yuri, shouting, begged the monster to let her go, but she became silent in fear when it glared at her with its red eyes and teased her with a laugh. It then laughed loudly at them, and the system identified it as a soul expunger. He realized its strategy and explained to Manhwa that the soul expunger waits until the holy water wears off before attacking the challengers, relishing in the fear it causes them. Then, furiously, he told the soul expunger not to underestimate him and, with a call of defiance, dashed forward to attack it, anger burning in his voice. He swung his false aminos at the soul expunger's head, but the soul expunger blocked it and laughed, fueling his anger. Suddenly, the monster turned around, still holding Yuri, and fled. Manhwa rushed to follow, urging him that they should pursue, which he agreed to and chased after it. When it turned to the side and they followed, they were shocked to encounter a swarm of skeleton monsters awaiting them. The soul expunger ordered the skeletons to attack. He told Manhwa it had lured them there to finish them off. When Manhwa didn't respond, he asked her what was wrong, questioning if she was scared. She just raised her daggers and replied defiantly, indicating she was getting fired up instead.